Hello, everybody. I just recorded nothing. So let's go back to it. This is Chanukah. Chanukah is the festival of light. What light is it? Are we talking about? Light candles, which we are to be found with each and every one of us. And that light can illuminate the entire world. And for that, I want to tell you a beautiful story that epitomizes that. Told it before, only 5 minutes ago. The video I never recorded, but never mind. But it goes like this. This is a story, a letter in English, written by an American Jew who lived in what is today Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, and was working in the National Library. I mean, it's not the the Congress of today and its giant size. It's actually whatever it was in the beginning. And he tells us a story. He writes it in his letter. And the story goes like this. I sit here in my house in Washington, D.C., and I think to myself, looking at the candle of the fifth night, this beautiful silver menorah I have, I'm thinking back to a few years ago when I was a soldier in George Washington's army. It was December, it was cold, very cold, we were tired. We were fighting the British, who was a very strong and organized army. And yes, we were holding on, but there was big exhaustion and a lot of worry among the soldiers. Can we defeat them? I took with myself some kind of a temporary makeshift menorah. And I decided that I have to light it. Like every time it was the fifth night, I set it up, I lit it, and I stood there thinking of the story of freedom that the Maccabees, headed by Yehuda and their father Matisyahu, and Yehudit, their sister, they were few and defeated a large empire by surprise attacks. Now I'm thinking to myself of that message of freedom. And suddenly I sensed that somebody standing next to me. I turned around and I saw General Washington, my general, standing there. He said, "Soldier, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm a Jew. And we're commemorating a big liberation our nation had in Judea hundreds of years ago from the hands of the Greek Empire." And I tell him how Yehuda and his army would walk through the small canyons and the valleys and surprise, and the riverbeds, and surprise the Greeks and defeat them. I told him the candles tell us the story of the victory of a few over many, of the small against the large, of the weak against the strong. It's the message of freedom. We both stared at the candles for a little bit, and then General Washington told me, "Soldier, you better go to sleep. We'll have a long day tomorrow." And he went on his way. Next morning, we rose up early, took a detour and surprised the British Army and defeated them. A few years later, I'm sitting in this home. My General George Washington has become the President of the United States, the first president. And I was working in the National Library. And as I was preparing myself to light up the fifth light of candle of Chanukah, there's a knock on the door. I go to the door and open it, and there stood my general, George Washington, who was now the President of the United States. And he hands me a most beautiful silver menorah. And he said he had a Jewish smith make it for me so it will be right according to Allah. He said, please, would you light up that candle? The candles again, just like you did a few years ago. I said, sure. President Washington came in. I fixed the candles, I lit them, and we stood there looking at the candles shining in the fifth night. And then he said to me, you know, that time was just before we fought with the British, the most decisive battle. I was at a loss exactly what to do and how to do it. When you told me of the Jews walking through the riverbeds and through all kinds of places, surprising the mighty Greek army and defeating it, my mind was open and it hatched a plan. You gave me the thought of freedom. It has to not be, it has to be within the soul. It has to be with the approach of the person, not just standing in one free on paper. And then I went and I hatched a plan and I drew it, and we were able, thank God, to defeat the British the following day. President, my general, writes JD, George Washington, shook my hand, saluted me, and left. What a story of a Jew lighting up darkness. He was right at a very important point of history and ramifications till today. Yes, right, not right, never mind. I'm living in North America, but I'm also a British citizen and waiting to be an American citizen. So that's okay, everything's okay. But the point is, we carry the light within us, the Jews. That's the candle. Ner Hashem nishmas odam. We cannot withhold the light anymore. We cannot play with our lives. The world is just coming out of a very dark era. A lot of bad stuff. Let's say no to darkness. Let's light up the world with the positivity of unity and oneness under God through the Torah and mitzvahs. I have two things I like on YouTube. And the whole thing is, not that we don't have a culture, not that we don't have a thing. What we have is the most powerful thing in the world, light. The candle of Hashem is the soul. Let's bring it out. Let's not withhold that light from the world anymore. Let's not play games instead of learning Torah. Torah is a lifeline for the world. It's no better, no worse. We all have it. There's no excuses. You can buy as many books as you want and learn them. Everything is printed out. Everything is available on electronic means. You don't even have to buy it anymore in a form of actual printed book, although there is a big advantage to it. But the point really is of Chanukah is that the Jewish people carry the light. Let's not withhold it from the world anymore. Just so then, directly to the point. Going through Facebook, I don't know how to get this crap on my wall, but I like tigers, that's what I like. I love tigers. Anyways, what happens, I looked up this, go through X. Suddenly I saw something very interesting. I don't know if it was an ambassador of an African country, maybe even a prime minister, but a white woman is interviewing this African leader, and she says to him, what about homosexuality? Are you accepting it? No. He said, look, it's very wrong. It's not good. You want to keep it in your society, that's your business, but don't bring it here to mine. We don't need it. It's wrong. It's an abomination. So do you hate homosexuals? I said, yes. They're terrible people. There's horrible things going around them. Why should I put it to my people? Why should we have it? That's the same thing here. Why should we avoid being Jews? What's wrong with being Jewish? On the contrary, Hashem deposited in our hands the goodness of the world. And therefore, let's allow all of us bring out the light within ourselves so we can illuminate the world and that we all get married to see the final redemption with the true light revealed to all with the coming of Mashiach. Happy Chanukah and a healthy winter.